Hello everyone, welcome back to the videos on Module 3, that is Registration under Goods and Services Tax. So the previous video we had an introductory discussion on section 22 which deals with the threshold limit for registration under GST as well as the common rules or common provisions under registration. So today we will be discussing about the section 24 which deals with compulsory registration. So while talking about registration under GST, we should remember that some persons are not liable to register themselves and some persons are compulsorily required to get registered under GST. So regarding the persons who are not liable to take registration, the provisions are discussed in section 23 subsection 1. So according to that, the following persons may not be liable to take registration under GST law. The first category is the person who is engaged exclusively in the business of supplying goods or services or both that are not liable to tax or wholly exempt from tax under CGST Act or IGST Act. So in the first provision, it is said that a person who is not at all liable to pay tax or who is totally exempt from tax are not liable to take registration under GST. Okay. Then, second one. The second person who is not liable to take registration is the agriculturist. So, agriculturist is not liable to the extent of supply of produce out of the cultivation of land. And the third category will be any other category of persons who may be exempted, which is notified by the government based on recommendations from the GST Council. So these three are the main category of persons who are not liable to take registration under section 23 subsection 1. So now we will discuss who is compulsorily registered under section 24. Okay. Before that, please note that a supplier is liable to be registered under GST in the state or union territory from where he makes the taxable supply of goods or services, if his aggregate turnover in a financial year exceeds the applicable threshold limit. So we talked about the threshold limit of 20 lakh rupees and the threshold limit of 10 lakh rupees for some specified category states. So, if a particular supplier's aggregate turnover exceeds this threshold limit, then he will be liable to be registered under GST. Okay. So, let's see the cases wherein a supplier is compulsorily required to obtain registration. So, this is in the case even if the aggregate turnover does not exceed the applicable threshold limit. That means even if the aggregate turnover of a person does not exceed rupees 20 lakh, in that case some of the persons need to take registration under GST. So even if it does not exceed the limit, some persons are required to register under GST. The first category is the persons making any interstate taxable supply. Okay. So the threshold limit of 20 lakh rupees and 10 lakh rupees in case of special category states is available in case of interstate supply of taxable services and of notified handicraft goods. So the persons who are making any interstate taxable supply are required to be registered under GST. It is compulsory. Okay. The casual taxable persons who are making a taxable supply. So I hope you remember the definition of a casual taxable person. So if a CTP or a casual taxable person is making a taxable supply and the threshold limit is rupees 20 lakh, okay, and he is making an interstate taxable supply of notified handicraft goods and availing the benefit of exemption from registration, then he is required to be registered under GST. So a casual taxable person making a taxable supply is required to be registered under GST. Okay. Third category is the persons who are required to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism. So reverse charge mechanism is a concept where it is not in the usual way of remitting the tax. So the persons who are engaged exclusively in making supplies where there is a liability to pay the tax on reverse charge basis, these persons are required to get registered under GST Act. Okay. Then 4, non-resident taxable persons making taxable supply. So if non-resident taxable persons are making a taxable supply, they also need to get registered. 5, the input service distributor, for example, the telecom company. These input service distributor, whether or not separately registered under this act, are required to be compulsorily registered. 6, persons who make taxable supply of goods or services or both on behalf of other taxable persons. So here comes the context of agent principal relationship. Okay, so if a particular person is making a supply, that means a taxable supply on behalf of other taxable person in the form of an agent or in any other form, same like that. So that person will be liable to get registered under GST in compulsory terms. 7, e-commerce operator. So e-commerce operators are the online service providing platforms or the online shopping platforms. So electronic commerce operator who is required to collect tax at source but threshold limit of rupees 20 lakh are required to register themselves compulsorily under GST Act. Okay. So the e-commerce operator will be compulsorily registered only if he is required to collect tax at source. 8. Some of the persons are required to deduct tax under section 51. So the persons who are required to deduct tax under section 51 are also compulsorily registered. And then next one is in every person supplying online information and database access or retrieval. We can call it as OIDA services. So if a person is distributing or supplying this online information and database access or retrieval services from a place outside India to a person in India other than a registered person, in such a case registration is compulsory for that person. Okay. Then apart from these category of persons, if any other person is notified by the Government of India on the recommendations of the GST Council, they may also be liable to register under GST Act in compulsory form. So I hope you got an idea about the persons who are not liable to get registered under section 23 subsection 1 and the persons who are compulsorily need to be registered under section 24. Thank you.